Good afternoon. You're listening to the new WCEG Network on WCEGTalkRadio.com. Click live stream or watch us live on your smart TV, YouTube, WCEG Network. I'm Celeste Giordano, your show host, along with my co-host Sara, and this is the Global Legacy and Wealth Building. And we're the worldwide community empowerment group where we speak life into the community. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and on Instagram at WCEG_talk_radio and at WCEG Network. And last but not least, our disclaimers. The topics and opinions are those of the show host and guest, not WCEG Network. Thank you for the continued support. Well, hey, Sara. Hey, Sherita. How are you today?
Doing amazing. Amazing. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. We are so excited to have you. And Sara, it's so good to see you. We have tax season behind you, so to speak. And you're getting ready to go on a 2-week vacation. So More power to you. It's well-deserved, well-earned with COVID-19. And tell us a little bit about what you do, Sara, and the name of your company, please.
Okay, I am Sara Poe with Poe's Accounting Services. We're a small accounting firm north of Atlanta in Decula, Georgia. Well, we take your mess and present it to the IRS is one thing that we do. We like to help small businesses to achieve their goals, to know what their numbers are, and to do the best they can with the money that they have, especially in these times. You just don't know what tomorrow will bring, so we try to help them make the best of all that.
Absolutely, and thank you for sharing that. And again, I'm Celeste Giordano with CelesteGiordano.com. I'm a master sales strategist and a business mentor. I help business entrepreneurs, direct sales teams, and corporations exponentially increase sales and revenue through lead generation, building relationships, and accountability. Again, Celeste Giordano with CelesteGiordano.com. Sara, I'm so excited about our guest tonight. I know that for 4 years, you have heard me talk about Sherita Herring-Oglesby. And I've always said she is the master, the queen of grant writing. And so we have finally had the opportunity to have Sherita with us tonight. And she's coming all the way from Arkansas. What is the name of the town, Sherita?
It's actually Hattieville. And I didn't even know that this town existed. And because we always called it Cleveland, where my grandmother was raised. But it's actually the area is called Hattieville.
Hattieville. Well, in the middle of Arkansas, and I'm excited to have Sherita with us because I met Sherita in 2016 in the Yucatan, Mexico at an international summit where we served at a business summit, as well as we served the community in refurbishing a kindergarten, I think, or grade school or elementary school where we refurbished and did some painting and landscaping and brought educational things. We brought clothes and all kinds of things that we did for refurbishing this group. And then we went back in 2017 to the same business summit to Jamaica, where we did a business summit. And then we served the school that was getting ready to be closed down in Jamaica. And due to the money that we raised in a matter of a few hours that we donated, yes, it was a few hours that we raised something like $14,000 that kept the school open. And then we went and did a service project where we refurbished, we tore down walls, built walls, and it was an amazing opportunity. And I've heard Sherita speak at both of these summits. And she's just an amazing individual when it comes to for-profit and nonprofit. And a little bit about Sherita is she's an economic development specialist. She's a sought-after speaker, motivator, best-selling author, radio personality, and business strategist. She possesses nearly 30 years of community and economic development experience, has raised over $30 million for global projects, and served as a professional economic and business strategist for global leaders, city officials, chambers of commerce, and hundreds of businesses, nonprofits, and community leaders across the U.S. and in more than 14 countries. That is amazing.
That's impressive.
Very impressive. Also, operating by her model, you are your only limitation. Yayo? Is that how Yayo. Sherita proves no limit to the accomplishments you can achieve when it comes to impacting lives and making a difference. And everybody knows that's one of my favorite sayings, is that we are making a difference in our community. Yeah. She has not only built her career on doing exactly what she loves to do every day, Sherita expertly helps others live out loud in their passion. Amazingly, she accomplishes this by showing you how to secure profit for your passion by securing funding from the other investors and grant funders. She has provided specialized expansion and tactical approaches for businesses and large and small municipalities to execute complex economic development strategies for enhanced business sustainability, infrastructure restorations, commerce attraction, retention, and tourism. Since 1994, Sherita has tirelessly worked behind the scenes, coaching, facilitating, and or strategizing with some of the top social entrepreneurs, celebrities, professional athletes, and organizations in the world, including former President of Mexico, Vincent Fox, UN Ambassador Brian Blake, Parliament representatives of Trinidad, legendary actress Tippi Hedren, Oscar winner Hilary Swank, NFL great Jim Brown, NBA star Halen Rose, Hall of Famer Bootsy Collins, actor Hannibal Buress, producer actor Bill Duke, actor Anthony Anderson, comedians Michael Kohler and Kim Coles, motivational speaker Les Brown and Lisa Nichols, and actress Tatiana Ali, just to name a few. Oh my goodness, what a lineup. I feel like I need to pin 5 stars on you right there, Sherita. She has served as an instructor at the University of Central Arkansas in Conway, Arkansas, and National Park College, Hot Springs, Arkansas, teaching grant procurement, project development, and economic policies. She has been honored and featured with some of the top Renaissance women in the world, including First Lady Michelle Obama, amazing lady, the late Maya Angelou, Coretta Scott King, Congresswoman Maxine Waters, and renowned R&B songstress Chaka Khan, just to name a few. Whew. What a lineup, Sherita. What else can we say? I mean, the show is yours. We are here to listen to your words of wisdom with that. Amazing. But it is so great to have you with us here today, Sherita.
I love the sign behind you. I love what your sign says behind you.
Yeah. Do one thing every day that makes you happy. Now, someone said only one thing. Well, the thing is, some people find it hard to even think about one thing that makes them happy. They're so caught up with all of the junk that's going on right now, from COVID-19 to now politics to, the Black Lives Matter and community and all of what's happening as far as race relations, that people find it very hard to focus on one thing that can make them happy. And so I live by that. And even my screensaver is the saying by Wayne Dyer, and it says, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
Absolutely.
It's so important. So thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. So you have gone by way of California to this town in Arkansas, and tell us a little bit, speed us up on the journey that got you from California to Arkansas.
Well, it actually started by meeting my husband, Ray. And says, when you change the way you look at things, I didn't mean to do that. You look at change. And so in meeting Ray, it's something how God works, because I truly hate to fly, but I was flying all the time to conferences, speaking engagements, that kind of thing. And even Celeste, it's hard for me to believe that we met so long ago with those events, how time flies. But I've always loved RV life. And we had one with my parents in growing up. And I meet this wonderful guy. And I'm talking to him about, I'm wanting to schedule this next tour, and he's retired. So he said, well, why don't we go in the RV? And I'm like, what? So I planned my tours that will give us enough time to drive from one city to another. He and I are new in our relationship. We ended up going through 23 states. And
Wow.
just so happened also, I was ready to leave California. I was even looking at moving out of the country. I was considering Paris. I love Paris. I've spent time there and I have friends there. And I kept thinking I want to be in the countryside in France, right? I've always loved, like, even, what is that movie, Tuscany, Under the Tuscany?
Under Tuscany sun.
Oh my gosh, I wanted to live that lifestyle, right? And then I meet Ray, and while we're touring, we're looking at, okay, what does this feel like? And he and I both wanted small town. And now, fast forward to, we're at the end of the tour. I was going to be going into Mississippi, training with the mayor at that time, Daryl Johnson, in Mount Bayou, Mississippi. And it ended up canceling. Well, my uncle was a small town mayor in Arkansas. And he calls that exact day. And he says, are you still on your tour? And I said, yeah. And he said, well, can you drop down through Arkansas? And I said, you know what, Unc, that's perfect, because we just had something to cancel this morning. We were getting ready to head back. We were in DC, getting ready to head back to California. And I said, so we'll come down through Arkansas. Now get this, my husband was born in Pine Bluff. I have family that was here. My dad was born in Damascus. My mom was born here in this, but we hadn't thought about Arkansas. And the reason why I'm telling you guys this entire story is because ever since I've been working in this arena since 1994, when people start doing what they love, when you start following what's in your gut, things and doors will open that you never could have even fathomed. Arkansas wasn't even on our radar. It wasn't even a part of the tour. But when we came here, I was just coming to train for that weekend. My uncle and his team were going after a grant to put a road through their town, which they ended up getting the $500,000 grant. Hey. But we liked Arkansas so much, we stayed a month and we decided to stay here. So now fast forward, my aunt, she's on the phone with me one morning and she says, what are you doing? And I said, Ray and I are looking at some land. We want to get some land and, start homesteading. She said, well, that land is still up there in the hills. And I said, what land? And she said, the family's land. I didn't even know it was still in the family. It's the almost 30 acres that I used to travel to as a young girl. My grandmother and her siblings, 13 siblings, were born here. So here we are on family's land that's been in our family for over 200 years.
And that's a blessing.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. All of it. All of it. My husband, the touring, and now here. And that's why I tell people it is nothing but the grace of God. I'm very grateful. So,
absolutely. Yeah. God has everything lined up for us, Sherita and Sara. And we don't sometimes think that he has the people lined up. He has our house lined up. He has everything lined up for us of where we're going to go, the paths we're going to go, the journey we're going to take, the people we're going to meet. And we just have to trust him and trust that journey. And that's what you've done. And look where it has led you.
Yeah. And that's why even when I'm teaching, I ask, what is your passion? What is it that you truly love? Not is it, I'll ask what you do, but if your eyes don't dance, if I don't see in your reaction, in your motion, that is something that you love, because, when we start talking about things we love, we almost can't be still. We get very animated, like I'm talking with my hands, or our body language will reveal something. You don't just sit there stiff and just say, oh, I do this, I do this. No, your body shows whether you're passionate about it or not. And so when I'm talking to a client, or even if I'm meeting someone and talking about what is it that if they called me about something, I listen. I want to hear the passion, because you can hear it, you can feel it, because at that time it becomes soul to soul talking.
And that's so true. And just to talk a little bit on what you just said, is when I have client calls, when they first become a client, we have like a 90-minute discovery call, just like I'm sure you do as well. And I have several pages of questions that they fill out. And then I say, I want you to call and we're going to go over this. And they said, well, can't you read that? I said, of course I can read it, but I want to hear you say it because I can see and feel the passion when you're talking about this as opposed to me just reading it, because that is so true. That is so true. You can tell when somebody really likes what they're doing, or they really want to move forward with this, or they don't like this. But if you don't see it and you don't hear it, then reading it, you can misunderstand people.
Right. Yeah, very easily. And that's why the book that I've been writing on, and my publisher is going to fire me because it's called There's a Grant for That. And believe it or not, I don't care what your passion, I don't care what your industry, there's a grant for that. There's somebody that needs you that could not afford you. And that's why even with legal aid, see, people think those lawyers are working for free. No, they're working for the individuals that need them where they don't have to pay for it, but funding is covering their costs, And so no matter what your industry, there's someone that needs you and you can actually get funding to cover that.
Well, and that's so true, Sherita. And I mean, I didn't really know anything about grant writing until I met you in 2016 and your talk. And then you sparked an interest in me to learn more. And so I learned more. And then I came back a year later and learned even more. But being in the servant leadership position that I'm in with people, I have been associated with a lot of people that, I'll give you an example of a gentleman up in a town where my mom lives in Tennessee. They have, I don't know how many acres, we'll say several hundred acres, but they built a winery. And they have cows and they grow a garden. And so they have what they do now. And he was in the Air Force and he did grant writing for the Air Force. So he knows all about this grant writing. Well, they have gotten millions and millions of dollars in grants for this winery, because what they've done is now they have the winery, but because they have these cows on there and they raise these, whatever these cows are, fancy cows, and then they sell them to the people in the community, and then they raise the gardens and people come and they get to have the stuff out of the garden. So, there's a grant for that you teach people how to grow their stuff and come get this stuff and be a part of this farming industry right here. And then the solar panels come out. So now they got solar panels that are creating electricity on the farm. And I'm sitting there, this guy, I love him. He and his wife are amazing and very, very smart. And, several millions of dollars in grants. This was started with a winery.
See, the thing is that when you are making a difference, when you're touching someone's life, when you're helping individuals to pivot, when you're helping with depression, if you're aiding suicide prevention, if you're providing legal services for the disadvantaged, if you're a dentist and doing dental work for low-income individuals, see, there are people that just don't know that they can get grants to cover those costs. Okay, you guys, there are nonprofit bars, there are nonprofit comedy clubs. Now, people will get angry when they hear that, but that's because they don't understand how the nonprofit arena helps the economy, Celeste, you've heard me say this. The nonprofit arena is the third largest business sector in the United States, behind manufacturing and retail. Google it. Whoever is listening, if you just go into Google, go to a Google search and type in nonprofit, third largest business sector, and press enter and look at all of the different articles and write-ups that come up about it. So people have in their mind, they have a perception that the nonprofit arena means you can't make a profit, you can't get paid, it's a whole lot of work for nothing. And all of that is a myth. I was on a call yesterday and it's someone that talks to nonprofits all the time. And he said, well, nonprofits, you don't want to go after any grant money because if you get any grant money from the government or any other funder, they tell you what to do and they're in charge of your organization. That is so not true. When you submit a grant proposal, you're writing what you want that money for. You're giving them your program design, your strategy, what you're going to do, who you're going to help, what salary you want. And if they approve that, then Or they're expecting you to do what you said you were going to do. But who designed the program?
You did.
You did. Yeah.
You did.
Submit for that money. So they just want you to do what you said you were going to do. They're not controlling you. They're not telling you what to do. They're expecting you to do what you said you were going to do on what they granted you the money for. So people have so many misconceptions about this arena that so often when I get ready to work with a client, I got to break down all these barriers if they come to me. See, a lot of people won't even step into it because of all the things that they've heard that are totally not true. You know, the nonprofit arena helped us to come out of the last recession, okay? When for-profit jobs were decreasing by 3.3%, nonprofit jobs were increasing by 2.5%. Again, it is a $1 trillion industry. And so like right now with COVID-19, I'm busier now than I've probably been in 10 or 15 years because people are hearing about COVID-19 grants. They're having to shift their business. They're thinking that they're hearing about the nonprofit arena. So where people had doubts about the nonprofit arena and grants, they're hearing about it more. But if you look at any time in history where there's been a recession or a depression or a catastrophe, that's when the nonprofit arena steps up even more, because it is there to address needs. Okay.
Absolutely. Sherita, one of our listeners said, could you give the Google search engine again, please?
For what did for the nonprofit, just type in, what did I say? Oh, nonprofit, third largest business sector.
Very good. Thank you. Well, one of my first questions was, does nonprofit mean you can't make a profit? Obviously you can.
There are multi-million-dollar and billion-dollar nonprofits. See, most people don't realize this, but hospitals are nonprofit unless they say privately owned. Are they making a profit? I mean, now I like to mention the NFL. They had been a nonprofit since their inception. They just changed their status. And we know how long the NFL has been around. They just changed their status from nonprofit to for-profit in 2015. And I think it's because people started giving them such a hard time for being a nonprofit. I mean, it was going viral. The NFL is a nonprofit. Why are they a nonprofit? They're making profit. You guys, there are up to 29 different kinds of nonprofits. And the individual teams were not nonprofit, but the league. And still, the PGA is a nonprofit. The National Hockey League is a nonprofit. See, with it being up to 29 different kinds of nonprofits, think about whether it's the NFL, the PGA, or whatever. Think about the NFL, how many jobs they create with one single game. From the people that are working the concession stands, to the people that are cleaning, to the people that maintain the stadium, the workers there, to the people that supply the straws, the buns, the hot dogs, the hamburgers. And so with that nonprofit status, it allowed them certain tax breaks. Okay. Yeah. And so that's what I mean. A lot of people get upset when they hear that, but they don't understand how it contributes to that local economy and sustainability of all of the businesses that is supporting because of them supplying the inventory or whatever. And so it allowed them to have those breaks. So we get upset about something, we want to change it, but we don't really realize what the repercussions are going to be.
Right. Well, let me ask you something, Sherita. Is it possible to have a for-profit and a nonprofit company?
Yes. And I try and get more small companies to see that. Think about this. There's the Ford and then the Ford Foundation, Walmart and the Walmart or the Walton Foundation, Target and the Target Foundation. And so, yes, you can be the owner of a for-profit and also have a nonprofit, and they can collaborate. There's so many opportunities for that. For instance, let's say that you're a law firm and you have to turn away a low-income clients or prospective clients often, but you could have your law firm. Let's say that Celeste, you have the Celeste Foundation and you have the Celeste Law Firm. Okay. Right. So your foundation now you can get grants to serve those low-income individuals. You can have a law job training program allowing young people to work in your law firm, and grants are covering that job training program. It's also helping them to learn how to work on live cases. It's helping them to learn how to do research for cases, and they're better prepared, leading them into the legal field. Why wouldn't you want to do both?
And that brings up a great thing that I was just thinking about when you were talking about all that. Typically in this area, AARP will do low income tax returns for people. Well, with COVID-19 this year, they were not there to do that for people. So, you know, I had quite a few seniors come in here, and I would either help them or we would direct them somewhere, but they didn't make enough money to pay for those. So after seeing that this year, as you're talking, I'm thinking, now how can I help these people? So that's how I would go about doing it then. Absolutely. I would set up a nonprofit for the company. Okay.
Yes. And all year long, you could be teaching financial literacy and helping companies to even get prepared for tax season, and how do they run their organizations more effectively. I mean, there's so many opportunities, and you could be training individuals that want to go into the kind of business that you're in. Now it's entrepreneurial development. It gives you employees, extra employees, while they're getting on the job training.
Wow. Okay. Because it was heartbreaking for me this year, because I was by myself and I just couldn't do everything. And I was scared to hire anybody because of COVID-19. But I had several, you know, people on Social Security, that's all they had. I just did it. I felt I can't turn them away.
And see, that's what folks like to see. They like to see that you're going to do it anyway. And funders like to be on a moving train, or come and help with the moving train. So they would see when you're going after a grant, and you would show what you've already been doing. Let's say that you would say something like, during the tax season of 2020, there were a minimum of 30 seniors that needed accounting services that could not afford our services. So actually you gave in kind. So let's say for you to work with them, it would have been $500, but you only charged them $50, if any, or $100. Then you gave $400 in kind. And it's important to track that, because that's what gets you your additional funding for next year to be prepared for that.
Okay.
Well, you know, that's what Sara and I have a money mastermind group where we teach literacy, and we teach financial literacy to women entrepreneurs, basically, as well as, you know, Sara does a lot of charitable work for nonprofits where she'll keep the books. I do a lot of charitable work for nonprofits where I help them grow their business. And this is something, you know, as Sherita is talking about, Sara, that my wheels,
the light bulbs are going off.
Well, the light bulbs have been going off on me for a long time, that I've been sharing with you guys. But this is the big picture, and this is what's exciting, because Sherita can talk about the big picture way better than I can when it comes to the grant writing and for-profit and nonprofit. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Yes, see, I'm already writing to go after grants to cover me putting the cabins here for women's retreats, artist retreats, you know, to have youth come up and expose them to this, and opportunities for, you know, campsites and that kind of thing. See, again, it's all about it's bigger than you. See, the way that we are designed, it is the law that the law of attraction, the law, whether you say it's God, whether it's the universe or whatever, when you are doing something that you love, it is impossible for you to not help someone else. Absolutely. A perfect example is a bus driver. If he's driving that bus and if he loves it, Miss Jones could be back there on seat number 20 asleep, and she's his regular customer. And he knows that when she gets off work, she's tired. But when he starts getting close to her stop, what's he gonna do? Hey, Joe, make sure you nudge Miss Jones and let her know I'm coming up on her stop. Because he cares. And he cares about who is riding his bus, and he's gotten to know them. If he doesn't care, he's that guy that he looks and he's like, she know her stop is coming. I don't know why she get on here and go to sleep. He's gonna drive right by it. See, when you love what you do, you care about the people also that are around you, and you touch their lives in no matter what way it is. So that's why I'm saying, from being a bus driver to a rock collector, whatever it is, you're going to touch someone's life doing it. And that's why I like to guide people and help them do, what is your passion? What do you love? And I guarantee you that there's profit for your passion. But along with that, I tell people, with faith comes finance. You've got to have faith that whatever is put in you was put there for a reason. Celeste, you've heard Les, and I'm sure that Sara, you've probably heard Les Brown too. And there's something that he said that stuck with me. You know, a lot of times people don't realize how wonderful they are and how great they are. And Les said, out of the millions, you got to think about it like this when it comes to yourself. Out of the millions of sperm cells, the millions, you made it. If you don't think you're special after thinking about it in those terms, something's wrong. Okay? And so when you have a passion, when you have something in you that's burning in you, and that's why I encourage people, don't go after what's hot right now in the industry or whatever. Go after what's burning in you. What is hot in you? And that's what I want to help you to move that forward, because I've been doing this. I've been in this arena since 1988. I started my own company in 94. And in coaching my clients and showing them how they can operate in exactly what they love. It could be trimming bonsai trees. It could be collecting buttons. It could be that you want to teach law or you're into metaphysics. Whatever it is, I guarantee you that if you follow that, the doors that will open, the lives that you would touch, and the excitement that you feel about life will totally change.
Yeah, you've put a lot of thoughts in my brain already. So I hope you're not busy in the next after vacation.
Where are you going anyway? You're going to the beach.
St. George Island. It's a small island in the Gulf of Mexico in Florida. I picked that because if COVID was 19, not a lot of people go there. So all you people don't go, because I'll be there the next 2 weeks.
Now tell me this. Without a doubt, there are some small businesses that would need you, right?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Do you know that I never hardly travel anywhere without planning a speaking engagement or something? And your nonprofit will cover your cost for you going.
Yeah. See, something else she's taught me. How long we been here? Not long. And I've learned it a lot.
Well, see, even when I go home to my hometown, that's why I have it's called the Grant Cafe. The last trip that I took to Kansas City where I was going to be there, I contacted a local coffee shop and I did 2 workshops. When I went to Chicago, I did a Grant Cafe and yeah, I said, come have coffee with me and let's have conversation. Because when you love what you do, you incorporate it into everything that you do. I just have to be careful where I wear my husband out with it, you know.
Well, let me ask you something. Did you coin that name, Grant Cafe? Because I really like that for a workshop.
Like that, yeah.
I'd like that for a workshop, Sherita.
Well, I have the domain, and so I'm looking at actually, hopefully getting it trademarked really soon. But yes, I have the domain, and
all right, that's perfect. And the reason why I named it that is anywhere I go, I have coffee. Right.
And there's a coffee shop somewhere. And the goal is to also to choose an offbeat coffee shop.
Yeah.
So that I can expose more community to them. Because again, anything that I do, I want to empower. I want to help small businesses. I want community to start collaborating. And so any and everything that I do, that's the goal. You know, you guys, just like being here, I tell people your nonprofit should transition with you in whatever you're doing in your life. Even though people know me as grant writing, strategic planning, economic development, they see me now and they're like, Sherita, you're Green Acres. And I say, you guys, this is what I've always done. I mean, I love this. I just have been waiting on the opportunity. But what am I going to do? I'm going to do grant retreats here. I'm going to do women's empowerment here. I'm going to empower youth. I'm going to collaborate with organizations and bring them into the fold. Everything that you do can happen. Yeah.
Let me ask you something, Sherita. Talking about homestead, and I'm getting a little off base here, but the light bulb just came on. When you have property like that and you want to turn something in it, say you have 12, 13 acres. Is there an amount of acreage that you have to have before you can write for grants for it?
No.
Not at all?
See, you can write for a grant teaching something out of your house. I helped a pastor and his wife. They do tutoring classes at home. And they ended up getting a $20,000 grant to help boost their after school program. And then following that, then we got them funding through Walmart. They got 200 backpacks donated, full of school supplies, because they did a community backpack giveaway. They're in line now to get a larger grant. No, anything that you love or anything that you're wanting to focus on can start from right where you are.
And think about all these kids that are now at home having to do digital learning, and families are having to combine because parents have to work. What another great idea. Yeah.
Well, you see a lot of people now where the daycares are offering, you bring your kid here and they're going to supervise the online school thing. You have churches that are offering that, and you're paying them $100, $150 a week for your kid to go there to do their online school because of the parents that have to work. And I promise you, there's a grant for that.
Absolutely. And look at all the low-income families that don't have internet. So there's funding. If someone wants to be able to be, like I was just coaching someone earlier, and I was saying to him, suppose that you get this internet bus, and you can pull up in certain communities and you sit there for hours, and kids can even be in their home, but now they can connect to your internet and they have access. You can even get Chromebooks or whatever is needed and give them out. And through collaborations with local churches or whatever that are in those communities, now you can get funding for those Chromebooks. You guys, do you know that following the Depression, more millionaires came out of the 1930s, 20s, and 30s depression than ever before in recorded history? Why? Because individuals looked at what gaps need to be filled. And that's why when I'm training clients now, I say, look at what gaps need to be filled. There's one young lady, and she got furloughed from her job, but she loved making lasagna. And I saw her on the news, and now she has an entirely new business making lasagna, and she just started making it and delivering it for free. But I reached out and I'm trying to contact her because I'm like, there's a grant for that. And you can have a culinary arts program and have other individuals making it with you and teaching them a recipe. And there's so much. It's like tentacles that just keeps breaking out and going out this way and that way. And so my goal is to get people excited about it. How can I help you get excited about what's in you? And then guess what? There's a grant for that, and so it's been so long since people have been excited about something within them. They've gotten caught up in work. That statistics show that 85% of individuals across the globe hate what they do all day, every day for 8 and 9 hours. And then we wonder why we have domestic violence, substance abuse, child abuse, depression, high suicide rate. Once people are doing what they love, they forget to eat. Have you ever been excited about something and you look around and the day has passed, you're like, did I eat?
All the time. All the time.
I just ate lunch. Yep.
Yes. And the goal is to get people excited again about what is hot or what can be hot or what's been burning in them that they've been squashing. All of us.
No. Go ahead. No, I was just going to say, what the passion you're talking about, the problem is that a lot of people just don't know where to start. And we're going to get to that. We're going to dive into that in a little bit here. But I think, people don't understand enough about grants, or they feel that they haven't been established long enough to apply for a grant. They just don't know what they don't know how to get there. They don't have a roadmap. They don't know the process. And, I could go on and on. And, the other thing, and we'll get into this because I don't want to get the cart before the horse or anything, but, there's a process that you also have to do, that when you start a nonprofit, that you have to have good business practices. You have to have, bookkeeping and have your books set up, because you're going to have to do a process that says all that. And some people don't pay attention to the details. And then they have to give these details for the grants. So Sara and I, what we teach is very important. What starts out wrong ends up wrong. What starts out right ends up right. You have to start it out right. And you got to pay attention to the detail. And yes, you do have to, I don't care if you make $1 profit, get you a P&L statement this month that says that's what you had, $1 profit. But, have that P&L statement moving forward. And and tracking what you do and track those in-kind sponsorships and track the time that you're putting in and what you're doing. And that's probably one of the biggest things, Sarah, that you and I've talked to a lot of these nonprofits about is, you know, setting it up right from the get-go and then tracking that stuff and keeping good records.
They need to know those numbers for their tax returns too. Like how many hours does your president and your vice president and all those different people, how many hours a week are they spending in that nonprofit? That's part of a tax return. And a lot of people don't realize that.
The thing is, you're tracking that whether you're a for-profit or a nonprofit, but people think that you have more tracking in the nonprofit arena than the for-profit. No. If you are tracking your business and so that you know what it takes to actually run your business, you're doing that whether you're for-profit or nonprofit. It's just in the nonprofit arena, if you've got 6 volunteers, you still want to show, let's say that those volunteers will be making $10 an hour and you have 6 volunteers a day. So 6 times 10 is $60, right? Right. And then if they're, and let's say that they're working 6 hours, then that's $360 a day that you've got in kind that people are giving to you. Okay. Now, when you're not tracking that, you're really not looking at what it takes to run your business because those volunteers are doing a service. They're doing a job. Yes. And if they weren't volunteering, you would have to feel that with someone. So if you're not tracking that, you really don't know what it takes to actually run your business on a daily basis. So not only does it show you how to accurately forecast your business expenses and what it would take, let's say that next year you got to pay for that. So you're getting ready to write a grant. By just looking at the in-kind you've received, you know exactly what amount now you need to ask for to fill that gap. And now that you've got to pay the individuals. So there's so many reasons to track. But most people that have stepped into this arena, once they see how to operate, they realize, Sherita, I thought that you had so much more reporting. I thought that you had to keep sending something to the IRS. No, you do your taxes annually. Now, if you've gotten grant funding, a grant funder may want you to report to them on a quarterly basis. And some people have looked at it and said, is this all? So if you've gotten 500,000, maybe quarterly, they send you this, you got this sheet that says how much did you spend here, what employees have been involved, how many people have you impacted as far as who were in your program, was it 100, was it 60? They're basing it off of what you sent, remember, and said that you plan to work with maybe 100 youth a month in leadership development, reading, and improving their literacy scores or whatever. So then when you're reporting back, maybe you might look and say, our goal was to work with 100 youth, but now because of COVID-19, we actually are tutoring 300 youth virtually. But we're utilizing the same staff, able to pay those staff to do that. So you've got a lot of the same costs, but with COVID-19, you're impacting more youth. Absolutely. Instead of only a space for 100 in the space that you had. So it's just about, like you guys said, and that's where your services would come in so handy, because there may be some small businesses or nonprofits that normally could not afford you, where now you can go after dollars, cover your consulting costs so that now you can work with those individuals. Absolutely. So I always tell people, think of it like this, think of this long hallway. And you're just looking at revenue of what's at the end at that door. But as you're walking down this long hallway, there are windows that are at eye level. And there's people waving, saying they would like to come in and walk with you, but they can't afford you. And there's a door every so many feet along those walls. Well, now as you get grants, you can open up that door and pull in those individuals. And now you can work with them. You're going a little bit further and you can pull in a few more people, because your nonprofit should first walk with you on the exact path that you are on, no matter what it is that you're doing, because I guarantee you that there are people that need you that could not afford you. And now you can get grants to cover those costs, to pay you. See, the charity is not you working for free. The charity is you being able to give or work with some individuals that you otherwise would not have worked with, and it pays you to do it. So you've got individuals that are here that can't work with you. You got individuals here that can, because they can afford you. What the grants do is it evens the playing field.
It bridges the gap. Bridges the gap.
Exactly.
Well, let me ask you something. Can a nonprofit be an arm under, say, my for-profit company?
It can't be an arm. It has to be a separate entity. The IRS has to know who to tax and who not to tax. But you can collaborate. So for instance, let's say that you're sitting right there in your office, okay, and you've got 2,000 square feet. And now you develop your foundation. Your foundation can lease an office from you. You can have a job training program that works right there. And so now you're a nonprofit, and because of the individuals that you're bringing in to work with you, it start taking up more space. Your nonprofit can lease that amount of space from your building. Okay. So there's so many ways for your for-profit and nonprofit to collaborate. But see, this is where people get in trouble, because they're working with one organization that's theirs and another, then you start double dipping. So let's say that, Celeste, you've got books sitting there in your inventory, and they're books that you've written. And your nonprofit can buy those books from you for the different programs that you have under your nonprofit. But let's say that you've gotten grants to buy those books, then you get those books and you start selling them under your nonprofit too. So you're double dipping there.
Double dipping.
And then you're working in your for-profit over here, but you're paying yourself a full-time salary under your nonprofit. But how are you working full-time if you're working part of the time in your for-profit and then part of the time in your nonprofit? Right. So just be honest in your actions, and when you're honest in your actions, you won't have to worry at all.
Well, and Sara, from a CPA standpoint, you have any words of wisdom on that?
You don't commingle. I mean,
that's right.
You just don't commingle anything, right? You keep it separate. You got two sets of books, and like you said, the nonprofit can buy the books, but they got to give away the books, right?
Yes.
You don't commingle.
And that's
really that easy.
And it's one of those things in the workshops that we presented here, Sherita, for the nonprofit industry that Sara and I've done. That is something that we have just really spoke to the cows come home about. Don't commingle your stuff. It's separate, and you have to keep it separate. And sometimes people just don't get it, do they, Sara?
Well, and I will say, in the beginning of a new business or a new nonprofit, I just need to use this debit card one time because I don't have any cash over here, or it happens so quickly and so, and not in a bad way, but what you need to do is, write yourself a check or keep it legal, right? And keep it separate. Yeah. But it happens so easily in the beginning when one situation where there's no money.
Yeah, and see, the thing is, the same thing in the for-profit arena. Let's say that you've gotten an investor for $300,000 to start your for-profit.
Right.
Well, you don't want to commingle that with your personal life.
No.
You do not want to use some of that investor's money, and now you're paying your house note.
Right.
Or or you and your family are getting ready to go on vacation, and you say, you know what, I'm just going to take $10,000 from here, and we'll pay it back when we get back. The commingling shouldn't happen, right, whether it's the for-profit or nonprofit.
Absolutely.
But see, and people always think it's different than the for-profit arena. Now, even when you have invested your own money in your for-profit, and I'm sure that you can vouch for this. If I've invested money in my for-profit and I want to get it paid back, I need to have some documentation that I am loaning it to my company. Exactly.
Yeah, that's right.
You can do the same thing in the nonprofit arena. You can loan money to your nonprofit, but let's say that financially, personally, you start doing well and you don't want to get that money back. You can actually do it as you can change the paperwork and say that you want it to be a contribution to your nonprofit. Now it's a write-off. So it depends on what's going on in your personal life, your finances, on how you decide that you want to do it. But bookkeeping and tracking and commingling or not commingling, it is a corporation. A nonprofit is a corporation.
It's a third entity. It's a third entity. It's separate. It's separate.
Yes. Yes.
Well, and I want to make a statement here because we are live on the radio and live streaming on Facebook, and we have a moral obligation to do this, Sarah, especially with you as a CPA. Even with this COVID-19 and the PPP and all this money, again, you and I just had breakfast this last week, and we talked about this money that you're getting from the government during COVID-19, it doesn't go into your personal account. It goes, and Sarah has said the best thing is you take that money and you open up a brand new account that it came from COVID-19, and you don't put it in your personal account. You don't put it in your business account. You open up a separate account because now all the accounting is strictly going to come from that account. If you put it in your business account or your personal account, you've mingled it, you've done this, you've done that, you're going to have a whole can of worms here, and it's coming because they're going to come back and track you, so, with this COVID-19 stuff. So, Sarah, would you please tell our audience what they should be doing with any of this money?
You should always set up a separate bank account, whether if it's a different bank or all that, it does not matter. But we want a good audit trail. Why? Because there's PPP forgiveness, payroll protection plan forgiveness. And if you don't have a good audit plan, you're not going to get that money forgiven. Granted, it's only a 1% interest over 5 years now, but still, you want to have it forgiven in the best possible way.
Right.
You don't want any questions. So when you have that money deposited there, then you have paperwork for every penny you take out of that account. Why did you pay this? What was it for? But you keep that separate. You once you're ready to spend it, you've got the paperwork. You transfer the exact amount from that account to your operating account, and you pay the bills, whether it be payroll, operations, rent, utilities, whatever those funds are being used for. And, you just got to think about this in a logical way. So whenever you come in there audited or have to do the forgiveness, it's all in black and white right there.
Yeah, you don't have to go dig up. You don't have to pay a CPA to go figure this out for you. And, again, what starts out wrong ends up wrong. What starts out right ends up right. But I wanted us to make that statement, Sarah, for the radio show, because we do a for-profit on the first Tuesday of the month, and then on the third Tuesday of the month we do nonprofit. So this is our nonprofit segment here today. Go ahead.
So did you know that there's grants for your radio show?
Well, I'm sure Miss Penny Rogers, our gracious host, would love to know more about that. Because she is the founder of WCEG Talk Radio, and by the grace of God and her committee, they put the show together for Sarah and I, the Global Legacy Wealth Building, and we are honored and privileged to be here and serve, aren't we, Sarah?
That's correct. It's amazing people like them that's helped us help other people.
Yeah.
And the guests that we started this in May, Sherita, again, the first Tuesday is for profit. The third Tuesday of the month is nonprofit. We've had some phenomenal speakers on the show in the last 4 months. That's for sure. Just like yourself.
So now, is there a link that I can send people to where they can see your past shows? Excuse me.
Yes, and we will give that to you. It's WCEG Talk Radio.
Okay.
And it's at YouTube, and so you can go to the YouTube channel and WCEG Network YouTube. That's where the live streaming is. Let me ask you another question. We always hear talk about government grants. Is this the only resource for grants?
No, there's so much other money. Matter of fact, if someone is new to the grants arena, the nonprofit arena, I discourage them in going after government grants, because there's just a lot more paperwork. And government grants is one of the reasons why a lot of people have a bad taste in their mouth about grants in the nonprofit arena, because that's their only experience. And they saw that, and it's because a lot of the reason why there's so much paperwork is because of how the grant came about. Maybe it was because of a tax or something like that. And so it went through the House, went through the Senate, or whichever way it goes, right? And each one has their paperwork in there about why the grant came about, what was the tax, you know, when was it voted on, and all that stuff is in there. And then you got to get your SAMHSA, your DB, your DUNS number, you got to get all these different registrations. And so when people are new and they've got to go through all those hoops, it can be very daunting. And so when you go after funding, like for a Target grant, you know, speaking of Target, most people aren't aware that Target gives $4 to $5 million a week in grant funding. And
I am aware of that, Sherita, and I didn't know this, but we were doing a service project here in Atlanta when we were doing Wellspring Living and refurbishing 5 safe houses. And I'm not afraid to go ask anybody for money and in-kind sponsorships and stuff like that. I'm the queen of sponsorship here in Atlanta. You may be the queen of grant writing. I'm the queen of sponsorships. And so I went to Target and I went in there and I just talked to them. I had our information, I had our letter, I had all of our, you know, what we were doing, our service project. And they told us that each store gives away, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's like each store can give away $500 a week at their location for, you know, community sponsorships, $500 a week. Now, we have to file some paperwork, this or that, but we needed it like right then and there. But what they did is they gave me like $100, and because we were wanting to do linens and bed sheets and stuff like that for the safe houses. And so, you know, we went in there and I think I got the pillows and towels and washcloths and stuff like that.
So you got in-kind donations also.
Absolutely. But that's where I learned about they told me about Target, that they give away all that money, like you said, and they said their store gives away $500 a week, you know, and that also that you can apply for more. So a lot of people didn't know that. But tell us more about Target. That was my experience.
Yeah. And see, a lot of people don't understand the difference between a sponsorship and a grant. See, you can walk in and get that sponsorship, that $500 or $100, or like I talked about, Walmart giving the backpacks, and they gave that organization $1,500 cash. But then they also give grants, and sponsorships are for short-term, those quick projects. Right. Grants are for the long-term projects. And so, and when someone asks what is the difference, that's the main difference in those. But yes, there's so much other money besides government funding. Again, it is a $1 trillion industry. Your audience can also go to thegivingpledge.org.
Givingpledge.org.
Givingpledge.org. That's where Bill Gates, Zuckerberg, Ted Turner, over 200 billionaires have signed a pledge that they're giving 50 to 90% of their wealth away. From now on, that's added over 900 billion annually to the nonprofit arena, to the nonprofit industry.
Wow.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it is. You know, the other reason I love this arena, I don't care whether you are a big name celebrity, athlete, a global leader, or like a young man that I worked with that was fresh out of prison. When you step into this arena, everyone's on the same footing. You are your only limitation in how you can operate in this arena, and the goals and the opportunities that exist and the lives that you can touch. You know, there's no judgment. There's just opportunity for you to make a difference in someone's life. It has opened doors for individuals that couldn't even find a good living wage job, but they could start a nonprofit and touch lives. And like when I was working with the men out of the prison, I was teaching at Chino, the largest prison in California, or one of them. And we helped reduce that recidivism rate by 75%. Because see, nobody wants to live in a cage. But when you show individuals that they can get out and they can do something else and things that they're passionate about, you guys, it was unbelievable, the talent that I saw in the men in that prison. One of the guys, he should get STEM funding. This guy out of gum wrappers, like the Juicy Fruit gum wrappers or whatever, you guys, he had made a well. It was about this big. And it was an actual well, like a bucket well. But you guys, he had a bucket and it could swing. That's engineering. Wow. But look at the mind that this guy had. Okay. And so But a lot of times people have just, when you're living in your bubble of the environment that you're in, and there's a lot of negativity, and what people don't realize is when you are continuously in a low income community, see, they're finding that PTSD is a continual long-term something traumatic in your life. Think of what people are going through in a low-income community with constant sirens and gunshots and wondering where their next meal is going to come from. People breaking into their homes. Kids, in some communities, it is a norm to step over a dead body on your stairwell. You know, your brother has been killed, and then a few years later, your uncle's killed. And so a lot of kids don't experience death until they're someone old in their family dies. But when you're coming from a community where there's constant death and crime and drugs and a food desert, you're dealing with PTSD, so many. And so when in working with these guys in the prison, many of them, where they ended up where they are because of the traumatic experiences that they grew up in from childhood, from infancy. But when you can expose them to something else, see, nobody wants to live in a cage. And when you find a way to touch their soul and allow them to operate in that, they won't go back. Now, let me give you a perfect example of just giving someone access that they didn't even know they had access. Think of AAA, right?
Yeah.
You've got individuals, low-income individuals that push their car on a daily basis when it breaks down. But they're wearing $300 tennis shoes that they will have a fit if somebody steps on those shoes. And they're pushing their car because they don't even know that they have access to AAA. In their mind, they're thinking that only rich people could have that service that comes and picks up your car and tows you or gives you a jump or whatever. The moment they find out that AAA is $55 or less than $100, depending on your plan, they will never push their car again. What I'm saying to you is this arena allows people to have access. And once you have access and you experience something that feels right, that touches your soul, that will pay you to do things and make a difference in your life and someone else's life, you won't go back.
That's true.
And that's why I love this arena so much. You know, every day is new. Every day gives me a thrill to see that someone else's, their eyes dance. You know, a bulb goes off in their head saying, you mean I can do that? Yes. And there's a grant for that.
There's a grant for that.
I love that. That and the Grant Cafe, those are two of my, I love that.
Yeah, I love that Grant Cafe, man. I do.
Yeah.
Well, what about, so we know there's grants out there. How much can an organization receive through a grant?
Believe it or not, there's no limit.
Really?
The largest single grant that I helped secure was $14 million.
Wow.
You guys, even see what most people don't realize. Do you know that stimulus funding is grants? Do you know that the reason there is a Dollar General all across this nation, sometimes 2 and 3 miles away from each other, and in mostly lower income communities, is because they addressed a need. They put their stores where there were food deserts, and they did it with stimulus funding. Okay, but see, when you're a huge corporation, they call it stimulus funding. When you're a small organization or when you're a nonprofit, they call it a grant. You guys, what I'm saying is the funding is there to make a difference, to address a need. Just like a lot of these large corporations that are getting stimulus funding now. Now you can get mad about it if you want or whatever. But the thing is when these large corporations get the stimulus funding, are they keeping jobs going?
Yes.
So all those individuals that work for that company that's getting that stimulus funding, are they mad? Okay. So there's always pros and cons. I'm not saying the good, the bad, the ugly. What I'm saying, I'm just explaining to you what it is. And stimulus funding comes about to address a need. Grants come about to address a need. That's why even if you're a bar, I'm saying a bar that serves liquor, if you have established yourself to help starving musicians, you're creating opportunities for musicians that are out of work. You're exposing individuals to jazz and keeping the jazz music alive. You're creating opportunities in a low-income community and creating jobs there. Can you be a nonprofit? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
But people have in their mind that a nonprofit can't sell liquor. Do you know that in a lot of states, in order to get a liquor license, you have to do it through a nonprofit? See, upset about things, but they don't understand the inner workings and how the nonprofit arena helps the GDP, the economic engine, which is what makes America great.
Well, absolutely. And you were talking about the stimulus check. And again, I want us to go on record here, Sara, as well as Sherita. This money, this stimulus money that these corporations took, and there's pros and cons, and companies took it, this or that. They were able to keep people employed. They were able to keep them employed for up to 6 months. After 6 months, it didn't matter. They can let them go. True, Sara?
Oh, they could have let them go from day one. They just may not have been completely forgiven for the whole loan
thing.
I've read a couple articles on this, and it makes a lot of good points. You need to look at that money in whole and how's the best way to serve that corporation. It may be best to let 2 or 3 of those people go, because that you may be able to stay in business a year longer without any additional funding.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you guys, wouldn't you say that the checks that all these people are getting, these smaller checks, are stimulus?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. It's stimulus either way. But see, we like it when we get it, but we don't like it when a big corporation gets it. And again, I'm not trying to promote yay or nay about how somebody feels, political agenda or whatever. All I'm doing is explaining it. And a lot of times we don't like something unless we're getting it, but then when we get it, just like people say, well, I don't like, that they're the nonprofit arena and it's nothing but a handout, until you get your Social Security check, or until you get your stimulus funding, or people, they say, I don't like nonprofit. They're always asking for money. You guys, what business doesn't ask for money? The moment you walk in the store, before you walk out, if you got something in your hand, what are they asking you for? Money. It's just that the nonprofit arena, because the services that they're offering are not tangible like that. Right. People say, well, when you're asking for money, or if you're getting a contribution or whatever, it's a handout. But if you're a for-profit restaurant and you're getting money, you don't call it a restaurant, a handout.
Right. Yeah. And one of the things I did with all my clients after the pandemic started was, okay, tell me your situation. What's going on in your family life? What's going on in your business? How can we use the available funds or the services that are out there right now to benefit you the most? Because a lot of these people have no control if they lost their job, or if the business that they work for shut down for 3 months or 4 months, whatever. They had no control over that. That's when you don't feel guilty about using it. Use it. Do what's best for you and your family and you and your business, because that's what it's all about. It's to stimulate the economy. And if that's one way we stimulate the economy, more power to us.
Absolutely.
Yes. And see, even in talking about those large corporations, yes, they could lay off some employees after getting that money, but couldn't the small restaurants and the small businesses that get that money and they lay off, they could do the same thing.
They could do the same thing. Yes.
All I'm saying is people have to look at the entire picture and look at it fairly. That what is good for the large corporations also is good and can happen in the small. It's just, how are you going to manage your business? Understand it, understand your do's and don'ts, know what's available for you. And that's all I'm saying as far as the nonprofit arena also. See, I say that I call it the stepchild of business. People want to put less into it, but they expect so much more out of it.
Well, that's a true statement, Sherita. So let's look at it this way. You have families that maybe one spouse works for a corporation and maybe the other spouse is a small entrepreneur. Okay. And the one that works for the corporation makes very, very good money. And the entrepreneur spouse, does okay. But the thing of it is that smaller entrepreneur, they file taxes together or whatever, but because of that small entrepreneur, that average business right there, it's going to save that family thousands of dollars in paying taxes because of what they did and their overhead and their expenses that, where had you not had that, the big corporation person over here and you didn't have the entrepreneur here, you would be writing a big check to Uncle Sam in addition to the money that they already took from you.
Yes.
So does that entrepreneur costing you money? No, it's saving you. Whatever you would normally write that check to the IRS, I would much rather put it into supporting your spouse and their business as opposed to writing a check to the IRS. There.
And the same thing, similar, like if you have a for-profit and a nonprofit, and let's say that you have an absolute, now you guys stop me if I'm wrong, okay? Let's say that you have an absolutely phenomenal year in your for-profit and you make $75,000 more than what you normally would, and you know you're going to be taxed, but you have a nonprofit. You can donate that $75,000 to your nonprofit and get a major write-off instead of having all of these taxes on you.
Exactly.
And in 2020, you get a larger write-off than you normally do.
But see, it's hard for people to see that. But once they see it, and what I'm saying is, once you understand that, there's so many more things that you can do because you're in control of your nonprofit. You're not creating it to benefit just you and your family. You're creating it to make a difference in lives that need to be touched. And now that major contribution from yourself, even grant funders even like to see that. They like to not only see your sweat equity, they like to see that you have been a contributor to your organization, whether it is actually monetary or your in kind. So if you are volunteering and working for your company because revenue has not come in yet, track your hours because you're probably putting in $75,000 in billable in kind.
Yes.
Okay. But see, if you're not tracking it, then you can't talk about it in your grant proposal.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we have so much more. We got so much more to cover, Sherita. Don't you go nowhere because we have a lot more to cover. But what I want to do right this minute is I want to take a break. And when I say a break, I want you to tell our audience how they can get a hold of you, your name, your website, your phone number, your email, any information you want to give the community of how they can reach out to you if they would like to have a conversation with you or to learn more or take a workshop, whatever it is you have to offer. This is our time. We want to promote you right this minute.
They can go to my website. It's Philanthropy Alliance, PHILANTHROPY, Alliance, ALLIANCE. So it's philanthropyalliance.org. And if you missed how to spell it, just look up how to spell philanthropy, look up how to spell alliance. And go there and go to where it says sign me up. Get on my database because we send out free grant information weekly. I send out different kinds of tips about for-profit, nonprofit collaboration, and anything else that to help advance where you the direction that you would like to go. Now my Facebook, Sherita Oglesby, is full, but they can go to Sherita Herring Making a Difference. Sherita Herring Making a Difference on Facebook. And just stay connected. So, and thank you for that, ladies, for that, me being able to give that little plug.
Oh, absolutely. And do you have any workshops or anything coming up right now, Sherita?
I'm actually in the middle of one right now. I offer a grant writing series. It's a 6-week series, 2 hours a week. And at the end of the 6 weeks, your grant proposal is written and you get a list of grant funders. We identify funders that are specific to your programs and services. I also am in the middle of my nonprofit development class. Some people, instead of paying us to do their nonprofit, they want to, it's more, it may be more cost effective for them to take the class. It's a 6-week class also. And so we're in class number 4 already of the grant class, and class, class number 4 of the nonprofit class. Our next grant class starts this Wednesday. I'm sorry, I just ended one, but the next one starts this Wednesday, and it's from 12 to 2. They're during the day now because so many people are at home, but normally they would be in the evenings.
Right.
And but again, if they're on my database, they will get any of the upcoming classes. I do a lot of free. I recently did a free workshop called Introduction to Nonprofit Management. And so, and had people on from all over the world, from Paris to Pittsburgh. And so just join me.
So if they go to your website at philanthropyalliance.com, is that right? Or
.org.
.org, they can see the different workshops and things that you have there, or register online there? Okay.
Yes, there's a tab that says sign me up. where they can get on the database, but also they can see the different classes. They can see the details of what each class offers. And now, again, like you said in my bio, we've developed over 600 nonprofits. Now, people will complain and say, well, I hear that it takes a year, 2 years. Ladies, we've gotten nonprofits approved in 12 business days, 18 business days. We just turned an entire restaurant in the heart of Chicago in November 2019. We got the nonprofit status for that restaurant in 43 business days. So the reason why, what people don't tell you when they talk about how long it took to get their nonprofit, is that the IRS kept rejecting their paperwork. And that's why it took so long. But an IRS rep does not just have that paperwork sitting on the desk all that time and then decide to work on your documents. That's not how that goes.
No, absolutely. And for our listeners here tonight, I highly encourage you to go over to Sherita's website at philanthropyalliance.org, sign up to get her newsletter. I mean, she's going to send you an email every week with all this information. I mean, this is the queen of grant writing and nonprofits and for-profits. And you know as well as I do that Sara and I, we don't bring anything except extreme value to WCEG Talk Radio. So make sure you go over there and sign up at Sherita's. Also at this midpoint, I want to say that you're listening to the new WCEG Network on WCEGTalkRadio.com. Watch us live on your smart TV, YouTube, WCEG Network. And I am Celeste Giordano, your show host, along with Sara Poe, our co-host. And of course, our guest here tonight is Sherita Herring-Oglesby. And we are excited to work into the second power hour here. Really, we're into the last 3 quarters. Can a startup organization receive grants?
Yes. Matter of fact, for those that are listening, if they just go to Google right now, type in grants, seed money. See, there's seed money for startup organizations. Now, if you happen, let's say Celeste, you or Sara, you see a grant that you want to go after and they say they only fund an organization that's been in existence for 2 years. Don't stop there. You can actually go up under the umbrella of an organization that's been in operation for 2 years. They serve as your fiscal agent or a fiscal sponsor. And you can still go after that grant because a lot of funders will allow an organization to be what's called a pass-through organization. Okay.
Right.
So don't get discouraged.
So give us that link again. Penny, I know you're listening. So let's get that link for Penny. What is that link?
You mean as far as the search that they can do?
Yes, the search, please.
Grants, comma, and the comma is just the separator. Grants, comma, space, seed money. Now, also put quotes around seed money. Put a quote in front of the S and a quote at the end of the Y. The quotes lock those 2 words together. You know how sometimes you can do a search on the internet and one word's up here and one's down here and it didn't bring up what you want?
Right.
When you put quotes around it, it locks those words together. So it will specifically bring up what you're looking for.
I didn't know that. I learned something tonight. Thank you, Sherita.
Yeah.
We've talked a little bit about this already, but let's just say Celeste and I's nonprofit, we get a government grant, and you've talked a little bit about this. So if there's anything else you'd like to say, does that mean the government's going to control us? And you've talked some about that. I didn't know if there was anything else you wanted to talk about.
Not at all. See, it even when you read their documents, because I just had an organization on and we were actually looking at the grant, and it was saying, that they cannot have any conflicts of interest with the organization. They do not control the organization. It says it in the documents. They're granting you the money off of what you said you wanted to do, not what they're telling you to do. Okay.
And I'm equating that to like my barber giving me tax advice. Like they don't know that I'm a tax person and they're just giving me all this advice. And I'm sitting there going, what are you talking about? So a lot of bad advice is out there.
Yes,
that we need to overcome.
Yes. And there's so many from, the IRS is going to try and control you. don't go after any government grants, and I have people bragging, well, I haven't received any funding and I've been running. And then when I start talking to them, really, they're about to die. They're not sustainable. And which is why they've called me, but then they're saying, but we really haven't wanted to go after grants. And then I explained to them, do you realize the millions of dollars that go back every year untapped because so many people think that way? But how is the nonprofit arena the third largest business sector as far as creating jobs if these individuals are not getting paid? How is it a $1 trillion industry if people have to work for free?
Well, that's just like, for local nonprofits or even for-profits in your local community, where you go to, let's say, State Farm or Coca-Cola, they all, like you have Walmart and Target, they all have X amount of dollars that they give away every year. And there a lot of people don't understand is that you really have to do your due diligence and your homework to learn this, because you have to know when's the application deadline locally for these companies like State Farm and Coca-Cola, and what are they, giving their money away? Because like State Farm, I remember a couple of years ago when we were going to apply for that and found out that they really only like to deal with people and give their money away that had to deal with education. And,
yes, each funder has their funding priorities.
Yes.
You might have some that want to give dollars for seniors, but they only want to cover mental health or helping seniors as far as their nutrition. So that's why you have to read the guidelines. And you've got a funder over here and they only want to, but when you go to different funders, like I was teaching the grant class last night, the last session, and they were amazed because even when you receive the free grant info we send out, there's only so much I can put in the subject matter, in the subject line. But I always say, please open it, because it might say senior funding for wellness, but then when you open it, they also fund for youth leadership, tutoring programs, after school fitness, combating obesity. They have all these other 20 priorities. Now, very seldom have I seen a funder that only funds for one thing, okay?
Right.
But then you still have to read the guidelines, because even if they fund for youth sports, they still might say that they don't fund for travel teams, that they don't cover travel. So that's why it's important to read the guidelines. But again, all grant funders have different funding cycles, because people will say, well, Sherita, how long does it take to get a grant? It depends on the funder. And they say, well, can you guarantee me that I'll get a grant in 3 months? I always throw this question back. Is there anyone that can guarantee you that you'll get an investor in the for-profit in 3 months? Again, we ask things and expect things in the nonprofit arena that we wouldn't even consider asking or expecting in the for-profit arena. Right. And that's why I say it's the stepchild of business, because we put very little in. I had someone and we developed their nonprofit, and I saw her a year or two later and I said, how's your nonprofit? Oh, Sherita, I'll let that thing go. I submitted for a grant and didn't get it, and people told me I wouldn't get it. And I said, well, did you ever get those investors that you were trying to get when I met you at CEO Space? Now, she had been coming to CEO Space regularly, trying to get investors. She had been trying to get investors for 10 years, but hadn't given up. But she submitted for one grant and gave up. So what I'm saying is, we expect more, but want to put in less. And in life, period, you get out of anything what you put in.
Put into it, absolutely. Well, with that question right there, Sherita, and I'm just referring into the local market right now. So a lot of times there's deadlines that they have to have applications by a certain time frame for them to make their decisions for next year or whatever it is. The other thing is that a lot of the nonprofits don't realize that a lot of these companies don't use all their funding, and they don't go back and research or don't go back and ask these companies by the end of the year in December. There's a lot of money sitting there in December that has no place to go with these companies like Coca-Cola or State Farm. I'm using them, and the money's just sitting there.
Yeah, and that's why I was saying there's millions of dollars that go back every year. untapped.
Right.
Because they, even Warren Buffett says the easy thing is making the money. The hard thing is giving it away. See, because people don't know how to say what they're going to do with the dollars. And you know what, you guys, my alarm just went off. I forgot. I thought I was going to be on an hour, but it's an hour and a half. I'm on with a group in 5 minutes. And you know what? I'm seeing how the sun is hitting my face. I keep trying to shift. You know, I'm sitting, like I said, I'm sitting here in the barn, and this time of evening, the sun starts coming in. So I keep trying to shift because I know on the camera, it probably, does it look really crazy with the sun?
No, it's beautiful. I love the she shed, by the way. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Listen, well, we know that we have you. I just let you keep going because you were given fabulous content, Sherita. We'd love to have you back on the show again. Tell our audience how to get a hold of you, because we're going to let you get right to where you need to go.
Yes, they can go to my website at philanthropyalliance.org. That's philanthropyalliance.org. And go and click on the tab that says sign me up, so that you can get on my database. Now, you guys, before I go, let me just say something about philanthropy. All of us are philanthropists. You look at what you've already been doing, Celeste. Sara, look at what you do as far as to help seniors. And I bet that you are not calling yourself a philanthropist.
No.
I bet when people go to your website, you do not have whatever your title is and all of that you do, author, accountant, such and such, philanthropist. It should be there.
There, that's a good point.
Yes, because that's who you are. And once you start wearing it, you guys, and once you have that on you, you're going to see that other things start coming, and people will see that you're a philanthropist, and they'll think about you when there's opportunities that they want to collaborate with a nonprofit, or they want to guide resources your way. But if they don't know, if you're not wearing it, if you're not saying it, and again, we are what we speak. When you start owning that you're a philanthropist, when you talk about how you're making a difference, when you're talking about, instead of partnering, that you're looking for collaborations, when you start using the language of this industry, the industry will pour into you. Okay?
Absolutely.
So I want to thank you guys again for having me on. This has been
Thank
phenomenal.
you, Sherita. Our hearts love your hearts, and thank you so much for your time. We will both be in touch with you, and Sara and I have a nonprofit, and we would love to have a conversation with you. Our audience, I'm sure they'll be reaching out to you, and go to philanthropyalliance.org, sign up for Sherita's newsletter. Go spread your wealth and knowledge to another group. We love you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sara. Nice to meet you.
Nice to
Thank
meet
you,
you.
WCEG, for having me on. You guys are the best.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
You are too. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. Wow, Sara.
Wow, that was amazing.
I told you a long time ago.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. I mean, she's just such a wealth of information. I mean, I just picked up on quite a few tidbits here and there that, you know, it's good for us and our nonprofit, and just good for my clients. And I'm just so excited about all that.
Absolutely. And I'll get Sherita back on our show. And matter of fact, one of our monthly calls with the Women of Community Impact, we'll bring Sherita on board for a Zoom call with that. She's a wealth of knowledge. I encourage you, if you're looking to start a nonprofit, for-profit, take one of her classes. I promise you, you won't regret it. It will only make you money. That's for sure. And, you know, those that invest in themselves are those that are going to take that journey to the top.
Yeah, because that grant writing thing would be great.
She rattles that stuff off.
Yeah.
Sherita knows it. She knows it like the back of her hand. And you talk to her about something, and those wheels are turning. You can see on the show, those wheels are turning. She's thinking, and she knows exactly where to direct you. And she's just a real gemstone. So Sara, let me ask you a couple of questions here. You know, because you're getting ready to go on vacation, which I'm jealous. You're going to the beach for 2 weeks. With tax season, and this was a question we were going to ask Sherita, but I'm going to ask you, during these coronavirus times, is there still funding available right now, or is there anything that anybody needs to be doing, or what are we looking at, or what have you been reading or hearing?
Well, you know, the Paycheck Protection Program it's been stopped at the moment. So that could come back through another CARES Act through Congress, because I do believe there's still money there. They're still processing some applications that were in the system. If you got in the system in time, your application will be processed. But will they open that back up for a third time? It's a good possibility. The other thing is the EIDL, which is a economic disaster loan from the SBA. There's a grant up to $10,000 that you can apply for. I tell all my clients to do that. Then they have an actual loan after that that's 3.75 for 30 years. It's based off your revenues and cost of goods and things like that. But what's it going to hurt to apply for that? You could get it. You could put a little nest egg away so that you know you're going to survive through this until everything stabilizes and calms down. You just go to sba.gov and go to the funding, COVID funding, and it's right there, the application process. The application is super easy. It's well worth the time to do it. Also, in Gwinnett County, here where we are, the county's had tremendous amount of funding for nonprofits, just for nonprofits.
I saw that. I read that. 35, was it 35 million?
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, 35
huge
million.
amount of money. But see, that money also came from the government for counties to give to nonprofits so that these nonprofits could stay in business. Well, if it's helping people with cancer or after school kids, or there's just a humongous area, the homeless, all different things. So go to your county and see what is offered. Small business alliances are giving away money. You just Google your area in nonprofit funding at the moment.
You know, there's a LISC.org. It's Neighborhood Business Grants, Local Initiatives Support Corporation. Applications open up today, the 18th, and it closes the 23rd. And again, this thing with Gwinnett County, I think they started this in March, and they gave away, out of the 35 million, they gave away like 14 million the first half of it. And so now they're getting ready to give away the rest of it. So there's a deadline in there as well with the nonprofits that you want to register with. But that other one again is LISC.org, Neighborhood Business Grants, Local Initiatives and Support Corporations. And it's from the 18th of, that's today, through the 23rd. There's also $20K for business sectors, construction, manufacturing, retail, transportation, warehouse, real estate, renting, or leasing. You know, with everything that's happened, you know, most of the governments and the local governments and communities where they put a thing where you couldn't evict or evict anybody out or anything, and now that's been lifted. So a lot of these nonprofits like Home of Hope, Gwinnett's Children's Shelter, they're going to be seeing a big influx of, you know, women and children that are going to need a place to stay. So there's a lot of ways we can get involved in the community by helping these organizations. And there's many, just like Home of Hope, that that are going to have these women and children that are going to need help. They're going to need, you know, food. They're going to need donations with these people. So
and just going out in your community, like we did with our community, we just did school supplies. It wasn't, you know, a few of us did it together. We helped, you know, 17 children at the Home of Hope. We helped Beyond the Ribbon cancer children. I mean, it's you can do small things to make a big difference in your community.
Absolutely, Sarah. And I want to give a big shout out to some of these ladies that you and I know and have worked with us, partnered with us over the last 4 years in many heart projects here. You know, Lisa Patterson with Table Ministries, you know, does an amazing thing with the homeless people. Also, they did a movie that they have gotten several awards and recognitions with the movie. And I forget the name of it off the top of my head right this minute, but it's an amazing movie that they did. about the homeless in the area. And it really amazed me when Maureen had told us that, and this sounds like a staggering number, but it was something like over 500,000 people a night in Gwinnett County. Does that sound like
That's
the right thing?
That's a huge number. I didn't realize there was that many.
I mean, it was just, that are living in.
And the sad thing about it is, a lot of times it's children too. There's so many children that get caught up in the situations with their parents or their single parent, and they have no control over that. It's just heartbreaking.
No, they're sleeping in their cars and things of this nature. The other one, Bobby Minnick with Beyond the Ribbon, you're very familiar with that, and I am too, but why don't you just share a little bit about that, about Beyond the Ribbon and Bobby Minnick, because both Bobby and Lisa have been tremendous partners with us in the community with giving back over the last several years.
Well, Bobby started Beyond the Ribbon to help families who are going through cancer, whether it be children, parents, whoever that might be. They may just need a ride to a doctor, or they may need funds to keep the lights on because one parent is not working at the moment because they're with the child all the time. There's numerous things that could happen where we just need a little bit of help sometimes, or they may need some food, and we don't take care of just the family. What if there's a pet? That pet still needs to eat. So Bobby makes sure that the pets are taken care of. She makes sure that everybody in that family has what they need when they're going through a very trying and emotional time. It could just be so emotional, draining for a family to go through that, for a spouse to see their spouse, or for a big brother or a little brother to watch their sibling go through cancer. But Bobby's there to take care of that family in any way possible, whether if it's with rides or money or food or whatever that could be. I've been through breast cancer, and they make these great little pillows for you that, as a breast cancer, when you're going through that seatbelt can be very damaging to you as a breast cancer person. And they make these pillows to help protect you with that. So there's just so many things that they do. They're going to have a tea in October where you come and have high tea and wear your fancy hat and your clothes. And it's just a fundraiser for them. But they're constantly doing things to help our community here in Gwinnett, provide for the families and for the children.
Absolutely. And, it's bad enough when you're a family unit and you have a home and you have a career and you're going through this, and they help that. But, we also have families that are living in an extended stay that the mothers are going through that, or they have a child with cancer that is going through that, and they don't know, with this COVID-19 where they've been laid off or they didn't work, and they don't know if they're going to be sleeping in their car, next Monday, or where the food's going to come from. And so they do a phenomenal thing with our community, and we're always willing to help and give back to them. So we're very appreciative of both of those organizations. And then we have Tanya up there in Cumming that was on our show. I think it was last month, or when Tanya was on our show with Hope by Design, where helping with the people starting back out in society. They've had a hardship, and they have I think right now they have 2,000 square feet where they have home furnishings and things of this nature to help people get started back out. Also, I noticed that they had a lot of people that donated medical things to them, and Tanya took it up there to our friend Linda Gunter up in Hartwell, because she has a hospital that she and her foundation founded in Haiti, and they shipped a container over there. And so she went over there and took her all this medical stuff. So we just have a lot of amazing people in the community doing some great things and giving back and serving. And that's what it's all about. As Sherita used that word collaboration, you and I use the word collaboration, camaraderie, servant leadership, even our own organization, the Women of Community Impact, you know, we started this year, and then COVID-19 hit. We've had some Zoom meetings. We're going to get back into some of these Zoom meetings, and we served Home of Hope during Easter, where we took an Easter dinner over there. We took a Mother's Day dinner over there, and then we did the back to school thing. And we'll finish the year strong, Sarah, with, you know, Thanksgiving as well as Christmas with the needy organizations that need our help in this. And looking forward to servant leaderships that are looking to take part and be members with us in the Women of Community Impact. We have a lot of people in as most people know, I live part-time up in the Cincinnati area, and I live in Atlanta part-time as well at our home where I'm at today, and it's so nice to be home. We have people up there that are interested in the Women of Community Impact and taking it and opening up more organizations like that. So I'm excited for where our growth is going to go. And even though we may be in the middle of COVID-19, we still can keep serving and giving, yes, because that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to serve and give. We're supposed to make a difference. And it's not what you can do for me, it's what I can do for you. You know, there's givers and there's takers, and it's always better to be a giver.
Right. I grew up in a world where if your neighbor needed a coat or a new roof, you always were there to help your neighbor. And we're just trying to provide that for our community here, whatever that entails. You know, we've enjoyed helping with human trafficking. I got thinking about some of this today. We've done quite a lot, but we always get so much more out of it. We've met some awesome people in all of this and different organizations, just like with Sherita today. She was amazing. But, you know, just the people we've met over the time, it's been really good. And they can always be there to help you. You know, now I've got a person I can call if I've got a question who's a nonprofit goddess, right?
Right.
You know, because one person can't know it all.
That's true.
Even though you're my sponsorship goddess.
Well, anyways, well, you know, this has been a great show, Sarah, and we're going to wrap it up a little bit early here tonight. I just want to thank you for your loyalty, your dedication, and most importantly, your servant heart. You have made a big difference in our community. As long as I've known you, we started out serving with
Heart of Gwinnett.
Heart of Gwinnett. I couldn't think of it. With Heart of Gwinnett. And, you know, and then our relationship started with serving first.
Yes.
And, you know, and it's grown and blossomed into a beautiful friendship, a sisterhood over the last 7 years. And, you know, we'll continue to serve together in the community and giving back and helping people, because that's what we love to do, is to help other people, because it's not what you, like Sherita said, it's not what you can do for me, it's what I can do for you.
Absolutely.
And that's what we love doing. You've worked hard this year and you've had a lot of obstacles, and I wish you nothing but the best for your vacation. Please stay safe, enjoy. And I want to thank Penny with WCEG Talk Radio, Penny Rogers, you and your committee. Thank you so much for hosting Sarah and I and giving us the opportunity to come here twice a month on the first Tuesday of the month for profit. The third Tuesday of the month is our nonprofit show, Global Wealth and Legacy Building. And it's just a pure honor and privilege to be here and the community. If you would like to reach out to Sarah, if you need any additional help or questions on taxes, on the COVID things that are going on or things that are made available, Sarah, how can they get a hold of you, please?
My email is SPO at POECPAS.com. My phone number is 770-545-8841. And we'd love to help you in any way possible. And before we get out of here, I just want to thank you, Celeste, for all your leadership. And sometimes I see a squirrel and I go off in 10 different directions, but you help me stay on track. And I want to thank you for that, because we don't always acknowledge or tell people the things we're grateful for. And I just want you to know, without you, I wouldn't be where I am today. But thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarah. I appreciate that. And we appreciate our listeners. I'm Celeste Giordano with CelesteGiordano.com, Master Sales Strategist and Business Mentor. And we look forward to seeing you. I think our next show is going to be on the 8th of September for profit. And then the nonprofit will be the third Tuesday in September. And we look forward to having some phenomenal guests on our show in September. So enjoy, have a safe holiday, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
We'll see y'all then. Have a great one.
All right. Thank you, Penny. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.